Once upon a time. Welcome to Australian Book Lovers, your destination for imagination.
Australian Book Lovers acknowledges First Nations peoples and recognises their continuous connection to country, community and to culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and honour the sharing of traditional stories passed down through generations. We're committed to a safe and inclusive welcome for authors and readers of all cultures and backgrounds, including people of LGBTQIA+ communities and their families.
At ABL, our mission is not only about celebrating and sharing fabulous Australian and Indigenous authored books of all genres with readers around the globe. It's about finding fantastic resources and information for authors looking to write their own book or two or three. And what better resource than getting into the writer's room of some of those authors and asking them to share their experiences. And this is episode 153. I'm Laurie Bells, science fiction and fantasy author, blogger, flash fiction writer, bit of all of the above and bits of reviewing and who knows, all sorts of things. And I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country.
Brilliant, and thank you very much. So I'm Veronica Strachan, aka V.E. Patton, fantasy, science fiction, memoir and picture book writer, your co-host, and coming to you from also the fabulous and tumultuous autumn-weathered Woiwurrung country down here in Victoria. And really excited, and this is, we could have this panel every week, I think, and people would still be very happy. So we're ramping up the romance with Sandy Barker, A.M. Jaxon and Susannah Hardy. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Great
Thanks
to be
for having
here.
us.
Thanks
Great to be here.
Happy listening you all.
All right. Sandy, could you tell us where you're coming from tonight? Whose traditional owners country
So
are you in?
I'm coming to you from Minang Noongar. I knew I would trip over that land in the southwest of WA in beautiful Denmark.
Excellent. Thank you. And Alison, aka A.M. Jaxon.
Yeah, I'm coming from Wajak Noongar land, which is Perth in WA as well.
Yeah, another beautiful spot over there. Susannah.
I am coming from, the people of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I'm sorry, my dog is just escaped
Wants to be on the
upstairs.
show. So I am going to start. We'll do a little bio and a little blurb of your latest book, because some of you have more than one. So we're going to start with Sandy Barker. So Sandy is a writer, traveller and hopeful romantic. And I'll say just back, but it's been a little while from a 1-year sabbatical with her partner, Ben, living and writing across the world. As a traveller, she loves exploring new places, outdoor adventures and eating and drinking like a local. Many of her travel adventures have found homes in her novels. Her first novel, One Summer in Santorini, a romantic comedy set in Greece and inspired by her real-life love story, was published in 2019 by One More Chapter, division of HarperCollins, sparking the 5-book holiday romance series. Also with One More Chapter are her Christmas romance series, celebrating her favourite time of the year, and The Dating Game, a standalone rom-com set in the world of reality TV. Now, not content with that, she has a new 5-book rom-com series with Boldwood Books about the Ever After Agency, a bespoke matchmaking, a bespoke matchmaking agency based in London with a brilliant cast of characters and settings around the world. And books 1 to 5 are out now. And after she wraps that up, of course, she's going to write 5 new rom-coms for Boldwood Books, and the latest out 2025. So we'll hear a little bit more about that soon, Sandy.
Yes, yeah, I can tell you about that a bit later.
Excellent. I know, because sometimes people are, embargoed, and we go, "Oh, keep an eye out."
No, I can tell you.
Excellent. All right, hold on while I give you the blurb for "I Knew You Were Trouble" by Sandy Barker, which is of course a rom-com. The blurb is, "Don't get mad, get even. Kate Whittaker has always believed in love, but when a stranger named Willem shows up on her doorstep, the news he has to share isn't as exciting as his godlike looks might suggest. He's come to tell her that Kate's fiance is also engaged to his sister. Dun-dum. Kate doesn't know how she didn't see the red flags. John's work as an airline pilot, having him flying around the globe, the postponed dates, the huge rock of an engagement ring that isn't her style at all. Overcome with fury and entranced by the Nordic god's piercing blue eyes and quiet allure, Kate agrees to accompany Willem to his hometown of Amsterdam to help break the news to his sister. Yet what begins as a simple gesture of support soon twists into a deliciously devious plan to get back at John. Kate is drawn into a world of retribution, revenge, and unexpectedly romance, because sometimes the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. Oh, Sandy, a laugh out loud romantic comedy about broken trust, sweet revenge, and the surprising places we find love. Perfect for fans of Sophie Kinsella and Emily Henry. Oh, wicked.
That's great.
It does sound great. All right, Laurie.
Yes, let me tell you about A.M. Jaxon. So, Alison, A.M. Jaxon grew up in an idyllic, sometimes dodgy, small town in far north Queensland of the 1970s and 80s. Leaving small town Queensland, she headed out into the world to study pharmacy before using this medical background to explore and work around the world. These different paths have seen her experience many adventures and misadventures firsthand, which delivers a unique edge to her novels. A.M. writes about resilient women of all backgrounds and temperaments who endure what life throws at them. A newcomer to the romantic suspense genre, she loves highlighting human nature's complex, uplifting, and dangerous aspects in all its glorious frailties. I will get that out. It is in the evening for me. So after working for several years in pharmacy, she went slightly insane to study and receive a PhD in business. Wow. If anyone can go only slightly insane, I tell you, I'm in business, so I get it. Either way, when each year became too much like a cookie cutter impression of the last, she decided to follow her passion and write romantic suspense from her home in Perth, Western Australia. She lives with her very organised but messy husband and wily Westie, while her daughters have flown the coop to have their own adventures. When not writing, she coaches hockey and is a mad fan of any sport except maybe synchronized swimming. AM's never met a rum she didn't like, dislikes coffee, and has an eclectic taste in music, preferably played aloud. Most of all, she enjoys a good laugh with her friends over a decent meal while watching the sunset over the ocean. And that sounds like a romance right there.
Yes, and WA does do good ocean sunsets.
It
I will
does
give them
indeed.
that. Yes.
I just want to interject to say that AM has one of the best titles ever. So Madly, Deeply, Truly. What a great title. But we're going to have to talk off podcast about the coffee thing.
Yeah, I know, that's an issue. That is an issue.
It'll get worse when I tell you my dad's Italian and really can't.
Oh,
even
Break
worse.
his heart.
Yes.
So let me quickly tell you the blurb for Saoirse's story by A.M. Jaxon, which is a romantic suspense. 2 gunshots, 2 continents, one fateful day in January 1997. In Ireland, Saoirse Mahoney walks into a bank and straight into an armed robbery. That day, she decides she'll do whatever it takes to leave her small town life behind. In Australia, when Daniela Malone is told a single bullet has taken the life of her husband, Ryan, a police officer, she vows not to try to make sense of his death, but to work to lessen the number of women who die at the hands of men. Their worlds are about to collide. Saoirse lands in Brisbane, determined to reinvent herself. As a legal secretary for Daniela, she finds not just a mentor in the widowed lawyer, but an unbreakable bond. When the unhinged office IT geek Chad Merritt begins an unhealthy fixation on Saoirse, she realises she needs Daniela's help more than ever. The world may consider them weaker, but women are strong in many ways. And if they feel alone and beaten down, there are people who will support and fight for them. That's why Chad Merritt picks the wrong bitch to mess with. Make that bitches, Daniela clinks her glass to Saoirse's. Saoirse continues to throw herself into her new life, but struggles to escape the weight of her past. Just as she finds real love, an unstoppable hatred re-emerges to hunt her again. Old betrayals, past lovers, and hidden enemies threaten to destroy everything she's worked for. With nowhere left to run, she must make a choice, break or rise, and become the woman she was always meant to be. Saoirse's journey intertwines with the stories of 7 other women, each battling their own demons, addictions, and pasts. Their stories blend together in a powerful testament to strength and sisterhood. Love Connections, Saoirse's story isn't just about romance, it's about resilience. It's about women taking back power, embracing their sexuality, facing their fears, and fighting for their freedom. It's about revenge, redemption, and the unpredictable ways love finds us in the midst of chaos.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yes, we're all going, ooh, we better get that one. Okay. All right. And last but certainly not least, we have Susannah Hardy. So Susannah was originally an actor who completed a Bachelor of Arts at the University of New South Wales before running away to study theatre in Paris. Tell me it was with the circus, Susannah, and you'll make my day.
No, it was a clown school.
Excellent. Perfect. That'll do. Close enough. All right. Through performance, Susannah discovered a passion for writing comic stories about flawed characters navigating their way through love and life. In 2021, Pan Macmillan published her first novel, Loving Lizzie March. Her second novel, My Hot Housemate, is going to be, or has just been released by Hawkeye Publishing in April of this year. So Susannah lives in the inner west in Sydney, as she mentioned, with her husband, 2 teenage daughters, and a very needy puppy who's already disrupted the podcast and wanted to go upstairs. So there you go. All right. The blurb for My Hot Housemate, and I kept trying to write My Red Hot Housemate, and I know that's not true.
Oh, that would have been better. Yeah.
Successful Australian actress Indigo James was happily living in LA until she discovered her actor fiance had an affair. She also missed out on a huge TV role that would have been her big break. Needing time out to let her heart heal, Indy heads back to Sydney to house sit for her friends Jazz and Stu, and to look after their enormous Labradoodle called George. Indy knows nothing about dogs, and to make matters worse, she has an unexpected housemate, the handsome but intolerable Jeremy Taylor. Indy and Jem dislike each other intensely, despite having shared a passionate kiss at Jazz and Stu's wedding 5 years ago. Jem is scathing of actors and their lifestyle, while Indy finds him arrogant and rude. The thought of living with him is unbearable, but Indy has no other option. Broke and exhausted, Indy needs to recharge and save some money so she can return to Hollywood and pursue her dream. However, Indy's Sydney sojourn tumbles into chaos as her career comes to a standstill. Her father's health is flailing, and she learns that Jazz and Stu are having marital problems that she knew nothing about. She starts to realise her desire to succeed has become more important to her than the people she loves. On top of it all, she has to live with an annoying housemate and look after a demanding dog, both of which prove to be more trouble than anticipated. But just as tensions between Indy and Jem starts to sizzle, Hollywood calls, and Indy must return to LA as she's very close to a lead in a major TV series. This is everything she's ever wanted, but is forced to choose between her dream role and the possible man of her dreams. Why can't she have it all?
Exactly.
Exactly. That is the question. Indeed. Why can't you have it all? And I hope that, no spoilers, please, but there we go.
See what happens.
Oh, see what happens. Laurie, do you want to start us off?
Oh, goodness. Okay. So, question for all of you, with romance being, I guess you could say, primarily about, well, in a way, escapism, in a way, hope, in a way, that yearning for something, or it can be also a subtle form of activism and social commentary. So what are your thoughts on romance as a genre? And did you want to start, Alison?
Yeah, look, I think, why can't it be both? It can be that primarily the escapism, but I write with that little bit of I guess heart, not heart, because that's always there in romance, but hard edge would be what I'm saying. But it just can't be about activism, because I think you lose your audience. It's got to be done with a balance. And I think if you're just kind of preaching whatever you feel about something, then you'll lose your audience. So I always look at the Barbie movie. I thought that was a great example of just beautiful escapism, but so well written to have that theme that came so strongly through about women and what we try and be to the world and are for the world. So, yeah, I think it can be both.
Mm.
Yeah.
Almost activism by stealth, isn't it? We just, subtle.
Yeah.
With
Doesn't
lots
have to
of
be in your face.
with lots of romance.
Yes. Because that's what the fun's there for.
That's right. Susannah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because you've got a happily ever after or a happily for now generally. So there is that escapism, things will work out, that's that's understood, but it's also the perfect way to delve into sort of gritty concepts and issues through character. They often attack things like, or deal with things like, addiction or miscarriage or loss of a partner, or, all sorts of things, friendship breaking up. There's big issues there. But it is definitely, a form of escapism, because it all sort of works out, but it's an effective way to look at those more underlying harder, as you say, sort of harder, grittier issues, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
And to kind of jump on what you're saying, Susannah, that idea of the escapism, that's the promise that we as romance writers make to our readers. We promise them a happily ever after, the same as mystery writers promise the end of the whodunit. We find out who done it. So the escapism is the promise of it's going to work out okay, but the journey can include so many nuances. I mean, I write rom-coms, and a lot of my characters have anxiety because I have anxiety.
Yeah.
And I it's something that's just part of my normal everyday life. So why not normalize it and normalize talking about it? And so the activism part, I mean, romantasy is so huge right now, and so much of romantasy is around revolution. And fighting the good fight, and good versus evil, and the big issues that we're actually seeing play out in real time in the real world. So yes, absolutely, it has the ability to be social commentary with the nice package of this promise, this escapist promise. So yeah, I really think I agree with both Jaxon and Susannah. It can be both. It absolutely is both.
Yeah, and I also think you've got to have to enjoy those highs or the happily ever after, you've got to have the lows to get there. Like, it's more satisfying for the reader.
Definitely.
For sure. I mean, there's nothing more boring than two people meet and they're really nice and they go along.
Exactly.
I mean, kill me now. Who's reading that? No one's reading that.
Oh, no one's reading that, which is why I don't write romance, because I met my husband at school and we've been married for 40 years. So let's move on, which is lovely.
It's lovely.
Let me just tap into what you've been saying, and a nice segue is how do romance stories contribute to hope, resilience, or social connection? And specifically thinking about these times of crisis. I mean, the world, so much of the world is in a mess.
Yeah.
And I say that knowing that media and news, do beef up the negative. But how do you think that romance, and so many people read romance, and there are so many great romance stories, and, the volumes of romance that are out there, speak to it's hitting somebody's triggers, it's filling somebody's needs. So how does it contribute to hope, resilience, and social connection in these times of crisis? Sandy, do you want to take us into this one?
Yeah, I mean, hope, I think, is going back to that promise of there is going to be a happy ending. And even a happy for now is a happy ending, because it's the promise of a potential happily ever after in the future for that character. But, when we think about resilience, as Susannah just alluded to, we actually do have to take our characters to dark places, even in a rom-com or a contemporary romance. We have to have that dark moment. We have to throw them into the belly of the beast and say, ooh, how are you going to get out of this one? We need to have that, and then we see how those characters navigate that separation or breakup, or, the act 3 breakup, whatever we call it, how they navigate that. So, in something like what Alison's writing, she absolutely is writing, that's a prominent theme in her books, is this resilience. But even in something that's lighter fare, we see how people, these characters are thrust into this darkness, and then how they claw themselves out, because what they want at the end is each other. So I think that it's a romance is a perfect just from its format is a perfect example of being resilient.
Excellent. Thanks. Alison.
Yeah, I back up, what Sandy just said there. I think we always have seen it through history. You know, when Jane Austen wrote, they were going through a war with France, and while she doesn't mention it, it's in the background. And it was about giving people that hope that while they might not have it in their life, they can read about it or escape for a bit and see maybe that these things can, you know, pass, and hopefully they get through. So I think it brings out the best in your characters to give them that little bit of a different edge, which then allows your reader to then say, yeah, I can see that working for me. Maybe I should do a few things, you know, just try going out and making a connection with somebody. I think it helps as well, seeing resilience on the page and just backing up maybe what a person's feeling in their everyday life.
Fantastic. And I'll just say sneakily, I'm going down to the Queenscliff Literary Festival for the Jane Austen afternoon. So that's very exciting. My daughter has 95 copies of Pride and Prejudice. It's her thing. She collects them. But anyway, okay, sorry. Susannah, tell us about romance and social connection in times of crisis.
No, I totally agree with everything that's been said, but also I think just in this time with COVID, it really thrived, like with people, as in Jane Austen's time, in time of crisis, people turn to romance books. And just before COVID hit, I found it hard. I had publishers say to me, I don't know what to do with a rom-com in Australia. It's very, not so common as, say, the UK or the States. And then COVID hit, and I got a deal for my book because suddenly people were wanting lighter reads, more positive reads. And then in terms of connection, and this is sort of more the big picture rather than, because totally with resilience character, we see those characters, getting through dark situations, and that gives us hope. But also in the big picture with the rise of book talk or the way people are connecting over rom-coms and romance in general is just amazing. And young people now as well. And it's just made it all so much more, style, like chic, like it's it's sort of more present now, I think. And that's because we've been through this extraordinary time of unknowing not knowing what's going to happen, of stress, anxiety, like we've never, our generation's probably not really experienced something like that. So yeah, I think it definitely gives a sense of hope, and we've seen that with the rise of people turning to romance.
Yeah.
And even online, I mean, so we had to kind of live our lives online, particularly in Australia. And so when we look at how that rise of the book talk kind of happened, it makes sense because that was the ecosystem. It was an online discussion, and that connectivity around sharing, and it just started as, hey, I really loved this book.
Yeah.
And it just became the new water cooler. Like it's like, where do you find your book recommendations? And it is a younger people thing, which is really, really encouraging, because younger people are making up more and more of a percentage of romance readers.
Yeah.
So it's, and I think if you kind of layer all those things on, which is romance is hopeful, and it also shows characters being resilient, and it also brings people together because it is the biggest genre that's read in the world. Like it's 40% of the market in a lot of markets. So, 4 in 10 readers are reading romance. Let's talk about that. Like, what are you reading? And they're also voracious readers. So, it's rare that a romance reader's like, oh, I read a book last year, reading a book a week or a book every other day, or, they are voracious, which is why in romance, and we might come to this, but there's room at the table because readers they just were like, oh, I need more like that. So that's why the comparisons at the bottom of a blurb really do matter, is because, oh, I love Emily Henry. I want to read it. Well, Sandy writes like that. I want to read that.
Yeah.
So it is kind of, it's there's enough room at the table for more romance authors. So I'm glad that Susannah, that they had the epiphany and that Pan Mac went, hey, we heard really great book.
I know. Lucky.
Yes,
you need to
exactly.
get onto this now. So good for you.
I can give you a really good example of that too. Some of the readers, listeners may have heard this story before, but my grandmother, 97, the most voracious romance reader in existence. She would get through a romance book every 2 days.
Oh, wow.
She would, all through her life, every week was down at the library getting the next romances. My dad ended up making this giant spreadsheet when he was going down to get her books, because when she went into a home, she couldn't get down to the library herself. So he had to go down and pick them up for her. And he was going through the lists of books and authors that she'd gone through, and it was insane. So I completely agree with you when it comes to particularly a focus on a writer with romance readers. She read every single Danielle Steele book that was out there. She read it. Like, it's amazing that there is so many of these books that readers want to read. And speaking of, so it's such a massive genre. The specific beats of romance are pretty well established in the sense of there are certain expectations that the reader has. How on earth are you coming up with new main characters, new love interests, new plot? Like, how? There are so many books out there. I'm just, from a writing point of view, tell me, how do you do it? Susannah.
Oh, look, I think everybody comes to it from a different place and different experience and create different characters, because I think that's the thing, there are the tropes, they're the plot points that we all know and expect, and readers certainly do, but it's about finding different ways of, doing that, telling that story, interesting characters or a fresh voice or the comedy. And yeah, I think that's really just what's the role of the writer, I guess, is keep trying to, keep it something new and original. But yeah, there's not that. It's just finding different ways to telling pretty much the same story. The enemies to lovers are going to fall in love, but what do they do? Who are they?
Yeah.
Sandy?
Oh God, I mean, it's the biggest criticism of romance, isn't it? So predictable. And as I said again, like if you watch
my life
Law and Order and they didn't reveal who did it, you'd be really, really ticked off. Yeah, I always keep a notebook around, because who knows when inspiration is going to come. And the book I'm working on at the moment, my girlfriend, she writes histfic. She writes World War II fiction. She's moving into Cold War fiction, and she always has these rom-com ideas. Like, she's like, hey, this company is really cool. Like, you do a questionnaire with your partner, and then they send you on a trip, but you don't know where it is until you get to the airport. And she's like, sends me stuff, and then I'm like, oh, what if they mix up the couples and they send boy A and girl B to the one place, and so that's what I'm writing. Like, it just worked.
Yeah.
And then I can go back to and lean on the familiar tropes of it's forced proximity, it's mistaken identity, it's one bed, literally one bed, which has been super
I was going to say,
fun.
please, one bed.
I love bed. But yeah, I think it's just kind of just lifting your head. And they say, Stephen King, he'll say this, if you want to be a good writer, you need to read, you need to consume content and fiction. So I know that if I'm in a writing slump, that's what I do, is I go to Netflix and I just start watching stuff, or I pick up my Kindle, which is literally 1,000 books on it, and go to start reading something. So I think inspiration can come from lots of different places. Sometimes it'll start with character or a location or a situation, but in this case, it's a situation.
Alison?
Oh, for me, I think that's the challenge, isn't it? You've got like the tropes that you always kind of everyone's expecting, or even that lodges back into archetypes. And to me, it is that challenge of flipping it around or trying to. It's the trouble with something where you go, this is too predictable, I want to try and turn it. And that usually takes me about another month to plot, because I'm trying to flick it around. But I think part of that's why we do it is because we're wanting to make something a little bit different. And I think that's readers like the idea of navigating something that they kind of are familiar with, but like the surprise. And I think when you can do that, then you've hooked the reader. And yeah, and there's always a bit of realism there, because people like seeing, you know, even if it is escapism, they like seeing someone kind of going through what they're going through. And then it's like, oh, well, you know, okay. Even though they know it's happily ever after and it's not exactly that, it's still that good balance between character and dialogue and plot, and giving them at the end of it that great story.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to say with flawed, I agree with that, with the flawed sort of messy characters, because I do love writing them, and I think people either think, oh, thank God I'm not that bad, like, or I know somebody like that. I know exactly that person.
Yeah,
but
I have a friend.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, it certainly it gives. Yeah, people like to see that sort of mess unfold and become, but in a way that they've never expected, but they know what's going to happen. They know where it's heading, but it's the journey there. Yeah, that is what's satisfying.
One of the things I've found fun is I give them unusual professions. I've started doing that more recently.
Oh, yeah.
These two who end up together on the island of Capri, he's a stuntman and she's a movie producer.
Yeah, good.
So, you know, they both love film. So I'm able to kind of, you know, he's writing a screenplay, so he sees scenes of you know, like they're in so that makes it fresh for me as a writer. So, I mean, I'm going to spend a lot of time with these people. You know, you think about the drafting and the edits and how many times I'm going to read this book. Like, I want to be interested in the book. Like, I don't want to get bored either. So I'm like, what could be a really cool thing, you know? And, you know, I read a romance set in Italy, and she was a makeup artist, you know, and a movie makeup artist. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, you know? And so I think that can be kind of fun to play with, or a strange location, or a really quirky best friend, or just an ordinary people stuck in an unusual situation. So there's lots of ways to kind of play as a writer, but we have to entertain ourselves too. Like, we're not sitting down to write the same story. We don't want to do that.
It becomes too boring.
It's too boring.
No, bore ourselves.
Yeah, you're like, oh, what'd they do today? Oh, they got up and had marmalade toast. Who cares?
Yeah, no marmalade
Unless
toast.
she's a marmalade mogul, who cares?
Yeah, I don't like marmalade. Anyway, all right. So with that in mind, how do romance writers balance these timeless ideals of love with the modern realities of equality, consent, and diverse identities? Alison, you want to have a go at that one?
Well, look, I was thinking about this, and I thought really it comes down to setting your plot and your characters so that when, especially consent is the thing at the moment. And I'm not sure how historical romance or even just historical writers go with the consent, because it's one of those things. Years ago, consent was wasn't such an equality issue that we have now, and of course we all know that should be part of it. So I guess you write with honesty, you set your plot and your characters up. I was kind of thinking about this. It shouldn't again be the main thing that drives the plot. It should be what the characters do, and if those characters are true to themselves and seem true to the person reading it, then those issues just happen without it being something that's there and kind of jarring. I think it should be reflected in what a character would do, what a normal person would do, I guess, in a contemporary day and age.
Yeah, good answer. Yeah. Susannah.
Yeah, I think it's just all those sort of elements have become part of the everyday for romance writers now. I mean, again, I don't write historical, so I agree. I was thinking about that. I mean,
I just don't know how
but certainly for contemporary romance, so there's consent, safe sex, all those sort of things, diverse characters, but it's not like, oh, I must do that. It is just, it's become a natural part of the process, I think, which is great. Like it's sort of, we don't sort of, it doesn't stand out. It doesn't jar, as you said.
We don't call attention to it. It's just what a person would do.
It just, and I guess it's finding ways to make it flow, as naturally as possible.
Part of the fabric now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sandy.
I think it's just, I mean, if we're writing contemporary, we're writing now. So it is part of the conversation. And so it just, as both Susannah and Alison said, it needs to be seamless. It needs to be seamless, not so that it stands out, because it, it kind of doesn't in our everyday life. Like, it should just kind of be part of it. And I was thinking around diversity. I mean, I'm a really strong advocate for own voices. We talk about a seat at the table. I mean, there's so much room at the table for diverse authors to be writing their truths and their stories. But then my characters live in the real world. So I might not write first person, for a main character from a diverse perspective, such as a person of color or a member of the queer community. But those people exist in my worlds because my characters live in the real world. So, and I want to be true to, I don't want to be writing stereotypes, but I don't want to be writing stereotypes for main characters either. So I think we do pay attention to that, but I think the more that we write and the more that we're kind of, we're intelligent, clever people. If we can write a book, we can, it's something we're paying attention to, maybe in the background. And a good editor will also call out and go, I mean, my next book that's out, it's again, it's another rom-com, but my agent pulled me up. She said, she's not very nice to the help. And she meant the help. If she's somebody as an employee or the help, she was a bit, and I was like, oh my God, she's really rude to the help. Like, what? I don't want her to be unlikable in that way. So I actually had to do an edit where I just was looking at how she interacted with other people. Like, she just wanted things the way she wanted them, but that was very abrasive. And, so it's not all on us, which is great. So if you have a good editor, they'll call you up and go, you don't actually have enough diverse characters in this world. Like, what's going on? There need to be, in this workplace, there need to be a member of the LGBTQA community. There needs to be, you can zoom out a bit as an author, but you really do need that stewardship from the team as well.
Good.
Well,
And I don't think we've solved the consent problem at all. I think it's an ongoing one, isn't it? Yeah. Go, Laurie, sorry.
Well, no, it was funny. You set me up beautifully for my next question, Sandy, because, okay, so modern times, people are a bit more out there. People are a bit more in your face about things. How do you judge how much sexy times you add to your stories? And have you ever been told to be more explicit or less explicit? So, Alison, do you want to start? I can see you giggling.
Yeah, because so in the two I've written, Saoirse's story and Joshua's story, which are the first that have been published, they are pared back because I had a good editor who said to me when I was just starting out, sex should be a reward for the reader, not every third page. It probably was. Let me just be clear on that. It probably wasn't every third page. I got the idea. So Madly, Deeply and Truly are the three books that I just sort of self-published, and my publisher wants to take them on board and get them in paperback. So I'm re-editing those. And I understand what she means now, because some of them are a little bit too much. So there's less in Saoirse and Josh, although chapter 8 in Saoirse, if people are really like talking about that, I've had a person say to me, we had to look that up online, but apparently you can buy those. You can buy those things. So, I have been told to have less of it, and rightly so from the first ones. And yet I've just had a beta reader read my 7th, and she was saying, there's only 2 sex scenes. What's happening? I don't think you can ever really win, but you can try and balance it. It just depends on your reader. So that's my dilemma. I think I'll take it on board.
Love it. Sandy?
I've kind of had both. So the Ever After Agency series, probably my most tame. Or the dating game's pretty tame. It's closed door. It's completely closed door. It's all off the page. But Yeah, I had an editor at HarperCollins in my holiday romance series. The very last book is dual point of view from both sisters' points of view. And she came back to me and she says, there's too many sex scenes in this book. And I said, no. You said I get 3 sex scenes per character. There's 2 main characters, so that's six sex scenes.
I like that idea.
I can do math. So and it was like, you're writing rom-com, so you get like the really long one, you get like a medium one, and then you get kind of like the teaser one. So you know, they're all different.
Yeah.
And then Ever After Agency series is closed door, and it's Fade to Black, and then one of them is just completely closed door. But my editor said, okay, we now want you to write Higher Heat. And I was like, okay, cool. Right?
Yeah, bring it on.
I write the book. I submit it. She's like, oh, no, not that. Way too much heat. And I'm like, and it was a bit like you, Alison, where she's like, yeah, it's like too early. It's like, whoa. Why does she have so many sex toys? Why is she always masturbating? What's going on? Anyway, so I had to dial that back. And then she's like, and this is a really good sex scene, but it's not emotional enough. I'm like, they're just banging. Like, what?
It's not supposed to be emotional. Yeah.
I agree, Alison. You cannot win.
No,
Yeah.
you can't.
Can't please everybody.
I think it's everyone's sex balance is individual.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I always say it's
The only person you can play, well, there's 2 people you can please, yourself and your main character.
Too true. And don't lose the story. There was one book that I read and I thought there was just so much sex that there was no story. It was just, that was all there was. And I kept thinking, but then what are they doing between? But no, they're back at it. Oh, it's like, and I'd skip ahead. No, still nothing.
Still doing it.
In the end, I was like, no, I can't read it anymore. And, I do like a little bit of, sexy in the stories, but no. Okay. Susannah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I actually skip sex scenes when I'm reading books now.
Really?
They bore me.
Really?
Yeah.
They bore me. Like, really, they do. They bore me. A good kissing scene.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to write. I think it's hard to write really good sex scenes. Like, it's all very well having great sex, but then, writing about it can be, it can be challenging. But because I write rom-com, I'm a bit like, there's the one big one, maybe a couple of little ones, but mine are, I'd say I'm a little bit spicy, but it's not it's not full on, but it's open door. But yeah, it's not the main part of it. It's there, but it's more the banter. And even in the sex scenes, I get the funny banter happening. Like, that's kind of where I always end up. But what was the question with this?
Oh, just have you been asked to be more or less explicit?
No, I haven't been asked to pull it back or make it more. It's just kind of I sit in that rom-com sex.
Excellent.
You write a course on it, Susannah. You obviously nailed it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. You haven't change your view.
All right, before we dive into a little bit of the writing process, because our readers or our authors who listen always love to know when do you write, what do you write, etc. Tell me about what makes an Australian romance distinct from those written anywhere else in the world. What do you think of that kind of key elements, if we could distill it, that you go, that's it? Susannah, what do you reckon?
I think it comes down, because I write rom-com, I always look to the comedy, and Australian, like every country has their own sense of humour that's unique. And I think when you're true to that, that's what makes it very Australian and appealing to people. I also think the landscape feeds into it because it's so distinct and unique, and it's for people who are not in Australia, it's exotic and exciting. And for people who are here, it's familiar, and we like to see our own country on the page. So I think the elements like that certainly feed into it and make it distinctly ours. Yeah.
Do you get asked by editors to dial back colloquialisms or anything like that, or do you feel like the Australian language is okay for an international audience these days?
I think it it depends, like, I guess who your publisher is and where it's being published. Like if it is for an overseas audience, they might want it, you know, Americanisms put in or whatever. Like, but if it's Australian, and mine are all set in Sydney, my two books are set in Sydney. So I haven't been asked to pull back any sort of, you mean like Australianism sort of in language? Not really, no. Just once I used the word spunky, but that's a bit 80s. So I was told to make it a bit more modern.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, my colloquialism is very old. Alison, what about yourself? What do you think of the quintessential Australian romance?
I think it's as Susannah said, it's the settings and the climate, but the tone of the dialogue. And we don't take ourselves as seriously, I guess, and that's where the humor comes from. And we're not as polished. So I guess it gives that breath of fresh air in some instances. But I think the dialogue and kind of setting that up with what and actions and how Australians react is probably a little different. But
I actually wrote in my notes, we're not quite so schmaltzy with it all. We're you know, we're a little bit, you know, a bit more Australian.
Sandy.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just that kind of self-deprecating humor and just a little bit more easygoing. And I mean, I'm an Aussie writer and my publishing world is in the UK. So I've always ensured that I have an Australian connection. Either the books are set in Australia or there's an Australian main character. So Ever After Agency series, she's a gal from a Tasmanian apple farm who ended up in London at this, you know, this prestigious matchmaking agency. And I actually wrote this into the book because my editor was just like, is this a typo? I'm like, no, that's a word. And so I actually wrote it into the series that her colleagues are looking at her sideways a lot. Like, what does that mean, Poppy? Can you just clarify what you're actually saying? Constantly having to translate for herself. Because, you know, like I don't want her to not be Aussie. I want her to be proper Aussie. So she is unapologetically herself. And then as a little wink to the reader, I'm calling it out on the page.
Yeah. Clever. Good. All right, Laurie.
Yes. So romance is commercially successful, but it is still critically undervalued, particularly in the literary space.
Everybody's little dirty secret.
Yes. It kills me. Like I said, my Nana, 97, reading romances like they're going out of style. Crazy. So why do you think that is, and does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
No. Yeah. They're still selling like hotcakes. So, you know, do we care?
No.
No, I think what matters is, though, I think it's because people think romance is a light read, you know, it must be easy to write. And it's not easy to write. I think it's really hard to write a good kissing scene. It's hard to write the emotion. It's hard to make, you know, because romance readers, they are voracious, they are loyal, but they're tough too. They expect a good story. So that's what I think, you know, people sort of brush off romance. It's like, you know, it's hard to write good commercial fiction as well. And I don't know. I mean, I don't mind if it's not given, you know, awards and things like that, but I just think it should be recognized as a you know, a worthy literature, I suppose.
Yeah. I think e-readers have made a big difference in how many people are reading it now, because you know, you can't judge a book by its cover. Well, you can't see the cover now. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I often wondered whether that was one of the reasons that 50 Shades of Grey hit so big as well, was because more and more people could read it and not feel like they were being judged, because it was about the same time that Kindle and everything and iPads really took off. But hey, I'd love to be her little, you know, dirty secret where when you speak to people, I never read the books. No, I never read the books. But hang on, someone must have, because they sold so much. And the same with the movies. I didn't go and see them. So I think 97% of Hollywood's based on escapism and romance. So it's just something, it's unfortunate we're not recognized more for making the writing easy, but maybe it'll eventually come. Who knows?
Yeah, I think there's a lot with I mean, I'm I follow a lot of comedians, particularly female comedians, and the recognition of, in their mind, when they're talking about why is comedy hard, it's hard because it looks effortless.
Yes.
And if we're writing, we're writing good books. We are writing good books. They're commercial fiction. It's the biggest selling genre, as I said. It actually funds all those little literary books that win that don't sell any copies.
Yeah.
So, the ingratitude or the snobbery of some authors, it's like, I'll stop you, you wouldn't get an advance if I wasn't writing.
Get over yourself.
Yes, get over yourself.
Well,
and if you think about somebody like Emily Henry, every single one of her books is going to be a film soon. Rom-coms are making a huge comeback in film and television, and one of the things that's really interesting about this group of women is we're all middle-aged women, and how many middle-aged women are we seeing on screen in romances now? Like it is. And we watched last night As Good as It Gets with Diane Keaton and 7 when she made that film, and I watched today I watched the Golden Globe thing where she accepted it, and she said, who knew that 57-year-old women could be lovable? And I'm just like, you know what, we do. Because what we do is important. It is bringing people joy, and it's much maligned genre is going to continue to be maligned. And one of the reasons it is, let's just be really frank and go a little bit deep for a second, is because women are the predominant we make up most of the writers, and we also make up most of the readers. So of course it's just the little, it's the smutty little books that that the women read. It's easy to dismiss it because it started with us. We look at Jane Austen, she's kind of our pioneer, our goddess that we do, but it's because it's ours. Because predominantly it's a female thing, and it's going to be maligned by the literary world, which is predominantly a male thing. So
yes, and all the lines they get in papers. All right, we don't care because we're moving on. And I'm going to ask you, are you morning or evening writers? Are you organised? Are you spontaneous? Do you need a glass of wine, a cup of coffee? Obviously, Alison won't need a cup of coffee. It's a glass of rum. Do you need quiet? Do you need music? What is your writing space? Susannah, let's start with you. What gets you in the road flow?
I like more and more, certainly not when I was younger, but now I'm early morning. So I like 5 o'clock is good in the morning. I work as well. I have a day job, and a family, and I also freelance and all this sort of things. So I'm writing all the time, but for my fiction writing, it's fitting it in when I can. Unfortunately, it's sort of stolen moments. It's, outside a ballet class or outside a netball practice or whenever I can, but I do like that early morning. I find that very productive now. Sometimes late at night, but I know that I'm just going to get sleepy. So I think coffee definitely. But I'm not, unfortunately, I'm an organized person, but I don't have a set schedule. It has to be, it's all over the place. And I write a bit chaotically as well. Like I'll jump around and move to the next scene, and I don't write in order. So that sounds like a big
settle, Sandy, settle.
That's so hard.
Hard.
Okay, I feel like writing the end now. Might do that.
Excellent. Keep pressing those buttons, Susannah. Well done. Good. That's good. And do you have a word count? I know some people like to try and get through so many words a day or words a week.
Word counts are good. I do maybe if I set a word count each day, maybe 500 words or 1,000 words, that can be good. But yeah, it really just depends on, my stolen moments and how big they are.
Okay, excellent. Go on, Sandy. You're about to have an apoplexy down there.
I have so much admiration for authors who can do that. I don't understand that process at all. Like, it's just the opposite of how I can imagine it. And I often don't know what's going to come because I'm just a plantser. I'm kind of I know the beats, But if I wrote a scene over here, I wouldn't know how I'm like in awe of that, Susannah. So
I don't know how I get there either. And that's, that's the problem.
That's amazing. Anyway,
That's the best bit.
yeah, I think, Susannah, I think Stolen Moments is a really great title for a book.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
Write that down.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. I shifted to full-time writing about 18 months ago, but then again, we've kind of been transient. So I will set aside work days. I'll just kind of plot out my week and go, okay, that's a work day. That day I've got lots of errands. So I'll just, if I write something, great. If not. And then I also just try to get to the end of a scene. Like yesterday I wrote a whole chapter, and then today I wrote to the end of a scene. So I wrote half a chapter. So as long as I know what's happening next, I'll stay at the computer. But then I often just need to step away for the evening or a day and let the next thing come to me and play out. So the beats are there. I know what I need to hit, but it's like the specifics, like what are the lines? And then sometimes I'll just run and write something down while I'm watching telly. But I will like to work during the day, because again, like Susannah, I'm like at night, I'm like, no.
Done.
Brain.
Tea or coffee, wine or chocolate?
Tea in the morning.
Yes.
If it gets after 4 and I'm still writing, I might make a G&T.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm fueled by tea. I'm a coffee lover, but tea.
Okay.
I always think with a glass of wine or like a G&T, it's great for I'm great for about a good half hour there. It's like fantastic writing, and then it just gets silly. A bit sexy.
Oh, it's good. Alison, what's the combination that gets you going?
Look, it depends. When I'm really into it, I can wake up, write, have lunch, write, and get a whole lot in at night. If it's not as much, not coming as much, then I might be more at nighttime, because it's just calmer. I don't have to get distracted by things in normal life. But then, sometimes the time will just go and it'll be 11 and I'll be like, oh, no wonder I'm feeling a bit tired. If I do have it, not so much, maybe a rum or something, I'll find, sometimes I might think, oh, this is pure genius. I'll wake up the next morning and think, that's crap. So that's why I don't do that anymore. But I try and just, I guess, when it takes me, I do plan a bit, so I kind of know where I'm heading. And some days I think we all probably go through, it's more frustrating than others, because it feels like you're really trying to hammer it out, whereas other days it just flows. So the days it's flowing, I go for it.
Yep.
It's also I've learnt the value of the thinking time too. Like, when you do step away and go for a walk, and then things can germinate a bit, and you have a few, like I run, and I find running very creative in terms of my thoughts and coming up with, if I have a plot issue or something, I might sort of iron it out. I find that helpful. But there's something about the, like you say, late nights, Alison, or the early mornings, when everybody else is asleep, then that's you feel like, I'm a bit better here, because I'm up and I'm doing it. It's all quiet and calm. I quite like that.
Good. Before I get Laurie to ask one more question. Alison, can I ask you, indie publishing initially, and then traditional, what have you found kind of the biggest challenge or the biggest change between self-publishing and traditional publishing?
Oh, I think just the support. So just having more people on your side, not feeling like you're doing it in a vacuum or an echo chamber. So that's been great. And it's hard to know whether you're doing a good thing or a good job. And so suddenly I have a bit of a support network around me who say, look, and so for me, I guess we're all hard on ourselves. I'll go, really? You like that? And you wouldn't just say that or something, acting very needy.
Yeah.
And they just look at me like, are you stupid? No, of course. We wouldn't say it if we didn't mean it. So I think it's that, just having a bit of that extra support around you. Just that would be the biggest difference for me anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
Laurie, we've got one more. What
yes,
question have
we've
you got for
one
us?
more. Well, I was going to say, give us your advice for new writers that say, I'm gonna write a romance. Ah, what advice would you give, Alison?
I'd say don't forget that the writer serves the reader at the end of the day. And for me anyway, that I think I got advice initially about write about what you know. And then it's to me now more about what you feel. So if I can get those feelings and communicate that on a page that a reader will pick up, I think that to me makes more sense, but it's also a greater achievement to do. That would be my thing and get your characters right.
Good
Susannah?
advice. Yeah.
I would say just get writing, just show up and write, and also I think for first time writers to not let other things, like don't look at other people or other writers, just keep focused on your own, because it can happen for anyone. So just keep focused and get that first draft out, like just get it down and out, and then get some good advice, get some good help once you get to that point.
Annie?
I'd say.
I think read. If you're going to write in a genre, I mean, if I was going to start writing fantasy, I would just be reading fantasy and all fantasy all the time. I think I have seen, and I work as a manuscript assessor for Australian Society of Authors, and I've also been a judge for Romance Writers Australia. And it's apparent to me when an author hasn't read a lot of romance, because they're not hitting those beats. They're not leaning into the tropes. They're not honoring the romance. It's, it's really interesting. You can kind of go, oh, I don't think this person reads a lot of romance. So I would say that's a really important starting point. If you're a fan of romance, you will probably innately know a lot of that. And then you can do what Susannah and Alison said, just sit down, tell the story you want to tell, make sure that it's emotionally truthful, and then, educate yourself on what are the beats I need to hit. So have an understanding of being able to, of basic narrative structure. Look, we're always learning. It doesn't matter how many books you write, you're always learning. You can always improve. I swear by the book, Save the Cat Writes a Novel. It's so good. It really resonates with me because it unpacks a lot of well-known narratives and goes, this is hitting this beat, this beat, this beat. And it's a really good plotting. And I don't do a lot of plotting, but I've been doing it more lately. And I'm finding that I'm not wandering around in the wilderness going, like, I know, and then I'm doing that thing that Susannah said, where she goes for a run to kind of like, what's the next, like, what's coming next to serve this story that's already in my head. And then she can jump around apparently. So that's, but it is that combination of, know your genre, get your little booty in the chair and write, and also educate yourself around what are the beats that you need to be hitting.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Good advice for all writers. I'm just going to give you final words because I really don't want to hang up, but we must keep this episode on track.
Chatting all night.
Chatting all night. So, Susannah, final words. Any final words for readers of romance? Why should they pick up My Hot Housemate?
Because it's like either a warm, fluffy blanket that you wrap around yourself, or a nice, crisp beach towel on a sunny day. Like, it's just nourishes you, makes you laugh, makes you feel good. So, yeah, it's a nice way to spend some time.
Excellent. Alison?
Well, my ones at the moment, I guess, if you like a bit of heat or steam, they'll probably put enough steam on your windows and enough, or should I say, fog up the windows?
Yes.
But
fanning yourself with your Kindle on the train. I have to do that occasionally. Yes.
Hopefully I reach those heights, and enough suspense to keep you turning the page, but enough investment in the characters to want you to keep coming back and find out what happens to Saoirse at the end.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm impressed that both, that Laurie pronounce Saoirse correctly all the way through because I'd pronounce it about 6 different ways.
Oh, I had to write it down because I was so afraid I was going to say it wrong.
Everyone says that. Yeah, it's yeah, it was an interesting choice of a name, but
Yes,
yeah,
makes it memorable.
Beautiful.
yeah, I
Good.
hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. Sandy, why do we
Um,
pick up any of
yeah.
your books? But yeah, I knew you were trouble.
I mean, armchair travel, scrummy love interest, funny, just relatable heroine. She's just a normal person in an extraordinary circumstance. So it's just pure fun and escapism. It's not going to make you think too hard. And it's just like, you know, a blockbuster at the cinema. Like just get your popcorn and your Coke or your glass of wine is my preference. And then just dive in. Like it's just fun.
Excellent.
Love it.
All right. Thank you so much to Alison Jaxon, Sandy Barker, and Susannah Hardy, and of course my inestimable friend Laurie Bell, who co-presents all the way through. She saves the day so many times. If I've had a long day at work, she's there for us. But no energy needed tonight. It was lovely to connect with you all. Thank you very much for being on Australian Book Lovers. And can I ask you to join us in a little reminder to read more
Aussie
Australian
books.
Thank you so much for everyone.
you.
Yes, thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you
for
so
now.
much. Bye.
Let's meet again. Where magic happens.